Hey everyone, so welcome back to my MATLAB Psychtoolbox tutorial series. Um, Today I wanted to make a video about how to control moving objects on your screen as you present stimuli. In today's video, what we're going to do is we're going to create a line on our screen, and then we're going to try to control it as it moves across the screen, and we're going to rotate it, and I'm going to show you how you can do things while that's happening, happening on your screen. So I've got a few files here that I already wrote out, and then I've also got them pulled up on my other screen where you guys can't see. So I'm going to kind of keep those off to the side, and I'm going to walk you through how I built these scripts, and they're very simple. They're maybe like 25, 30 lines of code each. I'm just going to walk you through how I did this. Keep in mind, I am not an expert programmer. I've taught myself everything, so this is just the way that I figured out how to do it. I'm sure there's a better, more efficient way. The basic idea of what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating a path of XY coordinates that we're going to control the line along, and then we're going to write a for loop that plots a new line at each XY coordinate along that path. And I'm going to show you how you can do things in between that for loop. You can just present other things. But that's the basic idea. Another way you can do this is by creating a texture, and you can place the texture along different places on your screen. I haven't done it that way. I think it's a little bit faster to do it that way in terms of how quickly you can move the object, because drawing it does take a little bit of time. But for our purposes, I'm just going to show you the basic idea of how this works. So let's jump right into it. So the first thing that we are going to do is we're just going to do some basic setup. So I'm going to create a new file here, new script, and I'm just going to call this, I don't know, rotating line. Open this up, and at the beginning of our script, make sure that our environment's all clean. Just do a clear CLC, and then if you haven't seen this line before, go back and watch another video of mine. I think I talk a little bit about it, but for our purposes, it's not important at all. Most of this basic setup is pretty unimportant for you, and if you don't really know what I'm doing, then I recommend going and back and watching an older video and sort of refreshing yourself. So while I get this all typed out, we'll get a screen number. And we'll start off with a background color of black, and we'll open our window, and we'll get this is going to be our out window variable, our out window dimensions variable, and we'll open a window here. Okay, so I'm just going to comment this and say that this is our basic setup. And if you guys have watched other videos that I've done, you know that I like to keep my code pretty clean. I like to keep things in variables. So let's do our settings down here, and let's create a variable for each one of the things that we're going to need later on. So when we draw our line, we're going to need a line color. And we'll just work with a white line just to make things simple. We're going to need a pen width. This is just going to be how thick our line is. And then just to make things easy later on, the first thing that I want to do is just get the center of my screen. I went over like why I do this in the tutorial on how to draw objects on your screen, why I get the center early on. And so if this doesn't make sense to you, just go watch that video. I think it's pretty helpful. So this is just our basic setup. So now what we want to do is, like I said, what we want is a path for our XY coordinates. So let's say the first project that we're going to do is we're going to rotate a line around the center of our screen, like a clock. So let's say our line starts here. Our first plot line starts here and it ends over here. So what we want to do is we basically want to plot an imaginary circle starting here, and we want to plot it around the center of our screen, and we want to gather all the XY coordinates that make up this imaginary circle. Okay, so this XY coordinate's the first thing that we're going to need. So the function that I have over here is called plot circle, and I'll open this up for you guys. Feel free to copy paste this. This is just a function that I found on the internet that allows you to plot a circle. And the inputs are going to be the X and Y coordinates of the center of your circle and then the radius of your circle. So how big do you want it to be? So yeah, feel free to grab this function. Super useful. I used it recently in an experiment that I wrote. And so what we want to do is we want to go down here and let's call this function. And we're going to want to put it at the center of our screen, so our X center and our Y center. So that'll tell the function, let's start right here. And then the radius, let's just create a radius variable, just to keep this clean. And we'll give it a radius of 150. So then the output arguments for this function are going to be all of the X coordinates, so I'll just call this X points, and then all the Y coordinates, so Y points. So let's do this. So I basically want to test this, and then I just want to show you what X points and Y points is going to look like. But we don't have this out window dimensions variable yet, so and you can't do that unless you open a window. So what I'm actually going to do here is a little trick with Psychtoolbox. If you don't know this, you can actually get the out window dimensions of your screen, and you just do screen rect and then give it a 0, and that should be your current screen. And so these are the out window dimensions of my screen, and I just saved it in the OWD variable. And it's the exact same thing that you return if you use this function, and that's what you get here. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get my line color, pen width, whatever. I'm just going to gather all this for now. And then I'm going to plot my circle. And now if we look at X points, these are going to be all of the points along the path for just the X coordinate. Just the X coordinates. And then if you look at Y points, these again are going to be all of just the Y coordinates. So if you can sort of think ahead, you can kind of already see where we're going with this. We're just going to loop through all of these coordinates and plot each one on our screen. So I'm going to adjust what I'm looking at over here. Okay, so now we want to write a for loop. So we'll do that for I is going to equal the length of X points. So for I is basically how many points that we have. And we'll close this off. what are we going to do? So we're going to call our screen function with the drawLine subfunction. And then the documentation here, I'll throw this on here. The documentation for this function looks like this. But the documentation, as we've all seen, can be rather confusing. So I'm gonna walk through this whole thing with you guys. So you call your subfunction, and then you get your window pointer, which is just going to be your out window variable, which we got up here from our screen open window. And then we're going to call or we can give it a color. So we'll say line color, because we grabbed that earlier. And then what this means is from H, from V to H to V, this is literally all it's saying is your first x coordinate, your first y coordinate, your first or your second x coordinate, your second y coordinate. Why the documentation uses H and V, I think it's horizontal and vertical, but x1, y1, x2, y2 makes a lot more sense, so I'm going to put that in here. So it's going to be x1, y1, x2, and y2. And then, of course, our pen width. So what we want to do is we want to identify which x and y coordinates we want to use for our screen function. And actually, why don't we do this first? So I won't write the for loop just yet. I'm just going to call this function with one of the points just to show you guys. Excuse me. So we'll do x points 1, and then we'll do y points 1. In other words, the first index of the x and y points. And then we'll do x points, we want the other side of this. So if we do x points, we'll do length of x points is going to be 361. So we want the other side. So the first point is going to be here, and the 361st point is actually going to be the same first point. So what we want is the length of it cut in half. So we only want to go over here. So we'll do the length of x points divided by 2, but that is going to give us a decimal, and when you index into an array, you can't index with a decimal. So we're going to round length of x points divided by 2, and that should give us 181. Cool. So we're going to grab this. So this is all this is doing is grabbing the index that is on the other side of the circle, and then we're going to do the same thing with y points. We'll just paste that in there as well. So if I am correct, this should plot a line, a horizontal line across our screen, and then we'll just flip it to our out window, and then we'll just give it a wait sex of 2 seconds, and then we'll just do screen close all. And my computer does weird things with Psychtoolbox, my home computer, so it's not going to close out. I'm actually going to have to swipe out of it, so that'll be weird. But that's just me specifically, so don't worry about that. Or don't worry about what I'm doing when I do that. So let's run this. Of course, we get an error. Oh, I put an E there. And another error. Oh, screen. I was talking when I was writing all this. It's kind of hard to talk and program at the same time. All right, so cool. We get the center of our screen, and this is what I mean. My screen will go black or white, and then I just have to swipe out and swipe back in. Okay, so we drew a horizontal line across the center of our screen. Let's actually increase the thickness of this to 7. That was pretty thin. So cool. So now we know how to draw one of them. So now let's write our for loop. So we'll wrap this draw statement in the for loop. For I is going to be the length of x points, or 1 through. The length of x points, we'll make this a little neater. And so basically, we're going to make the x, or the first xy coordinate, whatever the current index is of I. So as this loops through every index along x points, the first coordinate is going to start here, and then it's going to go here, and then it's going to go here, and it's going to go here, and it's going to go here, and it's going to keep going all the way around until it eventually reaches back to the beginning. So then the other side of that is still going to be this rounded number, which is the length of x points divided by 2, right? Because we want to be aiming at the other side, except we need to keep this moving forward. So all we're going to do is, I like to wrap things in parentheses a lot, so I'm just going to wrap this statement in parentheses just to make sure that nothing weird is happening, and then I'm just going to add it to I. So whatever I is, it's just going to be that plus whatever's on the other side of the circle. So that'll be my second x coordinate. And then I'm just going to do the same thing for the y. Just wrap that in some parentheses, and then I'll add it to whatever I is. Okay, so now I just did this, so I already ran into this error, but what's actually going to happen is when you get to the end of your circle, you're going to try to index this I further than it is, because you're going to be reaching into something that it isn't, because it's basically saying like whatever I is, add it, and when it gets to the end, it'll just fail. It's going to say index out of bounds. So what we're going to do is we're just going to, just to make this simple, we're just going to wrap this in a try-catch statement. And all this does is it's going to attempt to run this code, and if this code fails for any reason, you're going to come down here and catch the error and do something else. And all we're going to do is put a break, and that's just going to break us out of this for loop. Okay, so we'll watch our point rotate, and then every frame, it's going to flip it out, and then we want to wait, let's say 0.0001 seconds. Now, it's not actually going to be able to go this fast. It's not going to go through and do 0.001 seconds in between each frame, because this takes time. So you'll reach a limit of how fast you can rotate this line, which is where you'll probably want to do a MakeTexture. I'm just doing it this way because it's simpler, but you can figure out how to use the MakeTextures and just move that around your screen using this same concept. And then at the very end, we'll just do another wait sex, and we'll just see it finish for 1 second, and then we'll close everything out. Okay, so let's run this. And there's our rotating line. And then it finishes. So the general concept is there. We're just scrolling through a bunch of XY coordinates, and we're just plotting a new line along those coordinates. So now I'm going to just show you how to do this when you don't have something like a plot circle where the beginning and ending lines are the exact same, we're just going to plot a moving vertical line that's going to move horizontally across our screen. So for that, we're going to create a new file here, and we'll call it, I already have a moving line, so we'll just do ML for moving line. And all we're going to do is we're gonna copy paste this setup because it's pretty much the same idea, except this time we're gonna have to get all these points manually. So so we aren't going to be able to use our plot circle function. So I'm going to show you how I did this. I'm sure there, again, I think there's a simpler way. I'm not a master programmer, and if you guys know of a cooler way to do this, good for you. But just for the sake of simplicity, I'm gonna show you guys how I did this. So we're gonna need an x-coordinate starting point, which we'll put up here, and then we're going to need an x-coordinate ending point, which we're going to put up here, and then we're just going to need two different y variables, one that goes from the center up and the other that goes from the center down, and for each plotted point along this horizontal axis, we're going to use the exact same y variable. We're not going to change the y at all, so we'll only have one y coordinate, and that'll be the same for all the top plotted points, and it'll be the same for a different one for all the bottom plotted points. And then all of the x points will be an array starting from whatever this is to whatever this is, and then that will be the same for the top and the bottom, because it's just the x-axis. It'll just be traveling along this axis, and then we'll just use a different y coordinate. So I'll show you how I did that. So we'll get our x starting point is just going to be our x center minus 400. So just whatever x is, so x center, so we got that, and that's just like right here. We're just going to subtract 400 so that we can start on this side, and then we'll do x end is going to be x center plus 400, and then we're just going to need a y star, or a y1, which is just going to be our y center, plus, we'll do plus 200, and then we'll just need a y2, and that's going to be our y center minus 200. So our plus 200 will be plus, so it'll be down here, and then our actually I want to start it. This is just a me thing. This is just for my own sanity. So I want to start it at the top, so the y center minus 200, and then I want the y2 to be the y center plus 200, so down. Okay, so now we're ready to loop through the, oh no, we're actually not ready to loop through this, because right now our x star is just a scalar variable, and our x end is just a scalar variable, so we need to create an array which has all of the points in between here and here. And I just did this by writing a for loop. This is super messy, but it was easy, so I just did it this way. So I initialized an array, and then I just wrote a for loop that says for I is 1 through basically just the range of numbers between the ending and the beginning. And then I just did x points is going to be whatever it was before, and then whatever the starting number was plus the current iteration, and I just did that. So now let's get our out window, and I'll show you guys what that's going to look like, what our x points variable is going to look like, what all of this is going to look like before we start plotting. So we'll do O to D is screen rect, and then let's get our settings. And then if you look at x start, it's 320. If you look at x end, 1120. And then our y1 250, y2 650. So these are still all just scalar numbers, and these this y1 and this y2 will remain those single numbers because remember they're not changing as they move. Now we just need to build our array of x points, and we'll evaluate that. And now our x points is just this massive array of points, just individual points between the start and the end. All right, so I'm probably going pretty slow for you guys. I know you can probably see where this is all going, but you know, some people might not know what we're doing here, so I'm just gonna let's just be patient for them. I'm doing it for the people who are still learning all of this. So now in our for loop, we're going to keep it pretty much the same, but we're just going to change a few things. So we're still going to be going through the length of x points here. We're just going to, we're going to keep that the same. And this is actually going to be much simpler now. So our x points for this is going to be whatever the current iteration is, and then our y is just going to always be just that y1. And then for this, we no longer have to do all this rounding and divided by whatever stuff. We're just going to do x points. What did I do here? Oh, right, because all of the x points are staying the same. They're not changing. The x coordinates are not changing. It's just which y variable we're going to use. So let's see if I do this right. So this will just be the y2. And then let's throw in our pen width. Okay, so that's all you need. Our x points are not changing. They're always going to be just moving horizontally, and we're only going to be changing which y coordinate we're using for the top and bottom of each line that gets plotted. Okay, so same thing. We'll just flip it, and we'll still use this try catch, whatever. I don't know if you need to use it for this one, but for the sake of the video, we'll do it. Alright, so I think this is ready to run. And there you go. So now you just get that horizontal line moving across the screen. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's pretty easy to control objects. And it doesn't need to just be, you know, you can do pretty complex stuff. I just experimented with like some weird line moving stuff as I was making this video, and here I'll just show you what else you can do with this. I'll actually I'm gonna comment this out so I can leave it there for you guys. But what I did was I did this, which is just get points was a function that I wrote, and I'll open that so you can see what it's doing. And it's just it's using line space, the line space function, to get points between an x and or 2 points that you specify here, and then you just tell it how many points you want, and it returns an array of points. So let's go back here, and I'm just going to show you guys what this looks like, because it's actually pretty cool. Just to show you how you can do like pretty complex stuff with this. But this will just be x points 1, which will be this, and this will be y points I, or whatever the current iteration is of that, and then x points, oh, we need y points 1, x points 2, and y points, whatever the current iteration is. And we'll only loop through the length of that. I think this should work. Let's see if it does. Yeah, so there. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it. Leave me a thumbs up, I guess, if you like this video. This video is actually requested, not really requested, but somebody was asking me how to make like a moving line in the screen. So I do look for that. If you guys want to know how to do anything specific, please let me know. I've been doing this for a little while now, so I love researching how to do weird things with this. So please let me know if you have any questions, and subscribe to my videos for more. Thanks.